At the end of every year, every student is required in grades 3rd through 8th grade to take an end of grade test. And at the end of every semester or year in high school, depending on what kind of schedule you're on, students who are taking the courses according to the 2003-2004 end of course instructions, they are going to be required to take Algebra 1, Algebra 2, Biology, Chemistry, Economics, Legal and Political System, English 1, Geometry, Physical Science, and Physics end of course tests. Now that is different in these times since this is over 10 years old. Now, to learn if your child has passed this test or not, the students are given different levels of achievement, or achievement levels. There's a level 1, level 2, level 3, and level 4. Level 1 states that students performing at this level do not have sufficient mastery of knowledge and skills in the subject area to be successful for the next grade. Level 2 states students performing at this level demonstrate inconsistent mastery of knowledge and skills in the subject area and are minimally prepared to be successful at the next grade level. Level 3 states students performing at this level consistently demonstrate mastery of the grade level subject matter and skills are well prepared for the next grade level. And level 4 states students performing at this level consistently perform in a superior manner clearly beyond that required to be proficient at grade level work. These are the way they base these scores are off of these different things, how they score them. Now, if your student gets a level 1, doesn't mean that they got only 1/4 of the test correct, and if they got a level 4, does not mean they got the whole entire test correct. They're all based off of the raw score. Now, there could be a range for the raw score between, so you could say there's only 100 questions between 40 and 80. Now, the people who score 40 and below would most likely be in the level 1, or 40 to 50 be level 1. The ones who score 50 to 60 is level 2, and 70 to 80 is level 3, and beyond. Now, when you look up what a raw score is, I just Googled it, and it says a raw score indicates the number of points a student earned on a test. For example, if a student correctly answered 30 questions out of 50, his or her raw score would be 30. Doesn't mean with these tests that if they got a 30 out of 50, they didn't pass or they didn't get a good grade. It just means they got 30 out of 50, and that is how they base it from there. There is a percentile rank. Now, it says the percentile rank gives the percentage of the population or sample that is above or below the given score. The percentile rank between 50, if the raw score is 50 to 80, the percentile rank for C would most likely be around 65. That is right in between. That would be your C value, so the student would be given a low 3. They passed it, they're right in the middle. That is where the Z score would start. I will show you what that looks like. There is the percentile. There is where most of the students, the average amount of students got right there. Here is that, 50%. Now the Z score is 0. The Z score is based off the raw score, so right down the middle. They go up by 1, 2, they go up by 1 deviation, a full number. If your student scores in the 62 percentile, as it says here, they will most likely be given a B. If your student scores in the 50 percentile, that means your student is average. There are just as many people who scored below as above, which is great. That is perfectly fine. The only downfall with this is if the student scores an average, that doesn't necessarily mean that they got an average score on like your actual test. So it doesn't mean they got a C score, which is about 75. They could have gotten what you would consider an F, but since it's in the middle of the pack, it's still considered a C. These scores at the end of this test is not based off of how much your student knows, it's how much they know within the group that they are in. It's all based off everything else. So, say there is one student who scores, or a group of students who scores really well, and your student didn't score that well but stayed in the pack, it still may not make your student look as good as they are. because you still have to include the students who scored very highly. Now, some examples of what you will get when you get your students' test scores back would look like this. See how little that 4 is? It's because there's not as big of a group in there. 3 is larger, and then so on. There are many different ways in which you can interpret these scores. Most likely what you would be getting when you look at these, you will see your student has scored a 3 and you will be proud because your student, passed the grade and went on, which is awesome. But they might not know as much as they should know by the end of the course. Now, if your student scores a 2, that does not mean they don't know enough. It just means there might have been a really strong group of students who did very well who bumped your student down to a 2. There are many issues, as you can tell, with this type of grading, but it is the easiest way for us students and give them a proper way to show how much they have achieved over the course of the year.